Good evening, Night Wanderers. Welcome back to the Midnight Frequency. Tonight, we're talking about isolation, about being alone in a place you thought you knew, about storms, not just the weather kind, but the kind that happen when you're trapped with nothing but your thoughts and whatever else might be there with you. Our guest is Michael Hayes, a man in his late 40s who made a simple trip to check on his family's old house. The house had been empty for years, sitting at the end of a dirt road surrounded by forest. It just needed someone to make sure everything was secure before winter. A routine visit, in and out, maybe spend one night. But then the storm hit. What Michael experienced over 3 days of isolation challenges everything we think we know about being alone. Because sometimes when you're cut off from the world, when the power's out and the roads are flooded and there's no one for miles, you realize you might not be as alone as you thought. This story doesn't give easy answers. Michael still doesn't know what he experienced. Was it real? Was it the house? His mind? Something else? Even now, months later, he checks over his shoulder. He listens for sounds that shouldn't be there. Because once you've felt that presence, once you've seen something you can't explain, you never quite trust silence again. Michael, welcome to the Midnight Frequency. Tell us about the storm.
The house had been in my family for 60 years. My grandfather built it. My father grew up there. But no one had lived in it for the last decade. Too far from everything, too isolated, too many memories. Someone needed to check on it before winter, make sure pipes wouldn't freeze, check for leaks, basic maintenance. I volunteered, a weekend trip, 3-hour drive, simple. I arrived Friday afternoon. The house looked smaller than I remembered from childhood visits. 2 stories, white paint peeling, surrounded by dense forest on 3 sides. The nearest neighbour was 4 miles down a dirt road. The weather forecast mentioned possible rain. Nothing serious. I unlocked the front door. The smell hit me first. Dust, old wood, stale air. I opened windows, checked the basement, inspected the roof for leaks. Everything seemed fine. By 6 p.m., dark clouds were rolling in. The possible rain was looking more serious. I decided to stay the night, leave in the morning. The storm hit at 8 p.m., not regular rain, not even a regular storm. This was something else, wind that shook the entire house, rain so heavy I couldn't see 10 feet out the windows, thunder that felt like explosions. The power went out at 8:47 p.m. I found flashlights in the kitchen, candles, settled in the living room with a book, told myself I'd be fine. It was just weather. At 9:30, I saw the first figure. Movement outside the window, through the rain, someone standing near the tree line. I pressed my face against the glass, couldn't make out details, just a shape, human-sized, standing completely still despite the wind that was bending trees nearly in half. Lightning flashed. For 1 second, everything was bright. The figure was still there. Hadn't moved, just standing, facing the house. Darkness again. I grabbed my phone. No signal. Of course no signal. I was in the middle of nowhere in a storm. I looked back at the window. Couldn't see anything through the rain. Probably just a tree, I told myself. Shadows and rain and imagination. But trees don't stand in perfect human shapes. At 10:15, I heard the footsteps upstairs, slow, deliberate, walking from one end of the hallway to the other. The house was settling, I told myself. Old houses make noises in storms, expansion, contraction, wind pressure. The footsteps stopped, right above me, directly above the living room. Then they started again. Coming toward the stairs, I stood up, flashlight in hand. Hello? The footsteps stopped. Silence, just rain and wind. Is someone there? Nothing. I climbed the stairs slowly. The old wood creaked under my weight. At the top, I swept my flashlight down the hallway. Empty, 4 doors, all closed, exactly as I'd left them. I checked each room, guest bedroom, bathroom, storage room, master bedroom. Nothing, no one. But the air felt wrong, colder on the second floor, and something else, a feeling, like I'd just missed someone, like they'd been there seconds before I arrived. Back downstairs, I tried to focus on my book, told myself it was just nerves, isolation, an old house in a storm. At 11:43, I heard the scratching, inside the walls, behind the living room wallpaper, something moving, slow, methodical, like fingernails on wood. I put my hand against the wall, felt vibration. Something was there, moving between the walls, rats, maybe. Animals seeking shelter from the storm, but it didn't sound like rats, it sounded deliberate, like it knew I was listening, like it was trying to get my attention. The scratching moved from the living room wall to the hallway, following me as I backed away. I grabbed a kitchen knife, felt stupid doing it. What was I going to do, stab a wall? At midnight, the radio turned on. I don't mean I turned it on, I mean the old radio in the corner, one I hadn't touched, suddenly crackled to life. Static loud, harsh, I walked toward it, reached for the power knob. The static changed, formed patterns, almost like voices, whispering, too low to understand, but definitely voices. I turned it off, it turned back on, I unplugged it, the static continued, coming from the speaker, even with no power. That's when I heard my name. Michael, clear as day, through the static, a voice I didn't recognize. Michael, we've been waiting. I yanked the batteries out, threw the radio across the room. Silence. Then from upstairs. Michael, the same voice, calling from the second floor. I didn't go up there, didn't move, just stood in the kitchen, knife in hand, trying to breathe. By 2 a.m., I was questioning everything. Lack of sleep, stress, isolation. Maybe I was hearing things, maybe I'd imagined all of it. Then I saw them, handprints, on the living room window, from the outside. Not just 1 or 2, dozens, all over the glass, small hands, large hands, pressed against the window like people were trying to look in. But I was on the second story. There was nothing outside that window except a 20-foot drop to the ground. I backed away, my flashlight flickered, died. In the darkness I heard breathing, not mine, someone else's, in the room with me, close. Who's there? My voice cracked. The breathing moved, circling me. I could feel the air displacement, feel presence. Lightning flashed. For one instant the room was bright. I saw nothing, no one. But I felt breath on my neck. Darkness again. I ran, out of the living room, into the kitchen, locked myself in the pantry, spent the rest of the night there, back against shelves, knife in hand, listening to footsteps walk through the house. Morning came slowly. The storm began to weaken. By 9 a.m., it was just light rain. I emerged from the pantry. The house looked normal. Daylight made everything ordinary. The handprints were gone from the window. The radio sat in the corner where I'd thrown it, unplugged, silent. No signs of anyone. I checked my phone, still no signal. But the storm was clearing. I could leave soon. I went upstairs to gather my things. That's when I found it, in the master bedroom, on the bed, my grandfather's old journal, one I'd never seen before, open to a page dated 60 years ago. The house doesn't like being empty. It gets restless. Things happen when no one's here to keep it company. If you ever stay overnight, don't be alone. Bring someone, anyone, because if you're alone, the house will provide company for you, and you won't like what it brings. My hands shook reading it. I left, didn't pack properly. Just grabbed my bag and ran to my car. The dirt road was muddy but passable. I drove fast, didn't look back, made it to the highway. Cell signal returned. Called my brother, told him I was never going back. The house can rot. Someone else can deal with it. I don't care. That was 4 months ago. But here's the thing. The sounds followed me home. Sometimes, late at night in my apartment, I hear footsteps in my empty second bedroom. Sometimes I see handprints on my windows, just for a second. Sometimes I wake up and feel breath on my neck. My therapist says it's trauma, PTSD from a stressful experience, that isolation and fear can create lasting anxiety. But last week I found something, mud, on my apartment floor by the front door, the same mud from that dirt road, the road leading to the house. I live 200 miles away. I haven't been near that road in months. I didn't track that mud in, so who did or what did? Last night I heard it again, that voice, through my wall. Michael, we've been waiting. I don't think I left it at the house. I think I brought it home with me. Or maybe it followed me, and I don't think it's done with me yet. The storm is over, but I'm still not alone.
Thank you, Michael. I know that wasn't easy to share. After recording this interview, we did some research. Michael's grandfather's journal? It's real. We verified it. The entry about the house getting restless is genuine, dated 1964. But there's more. Property records show 7 different families own that house over 60 years. Average occupancy, 8 months. Every single family left suddenly. No explanations in the records. Just abandoned. Michael's therapist might be right. Isolation, stress, fear, these things can create powerful psychological experiences. The mind can play tricks in darkness, in storms, in old houses full of shadows. But those handprints. Michael took photos before he left. We've seen them. They're real. Dozens of them, on second-story windows. And the mud in his apartment? He sent us a sample. We had it analyzed. It matches. Same mineral composition as the soil around his grandfather's house. 200 miles away. Michael moved again last month. New city, new apartment. Top floor, security building. He doesn't tell anyone where he lives. But 3 nights ago, he heard it. Through his wall. His name. Called in a voice he doesn't recognize. He checked. No one lives in the apartment next door. It's been empty for 2 years. Here's what haunts me about Michael's story. We don't know what's worse. The idea that something supernatural attached itself to him in that house, something that followed him home and won't let go. Or the idea that his mind broke during those 3 days. That the isolation and fear damaged something inside him. And now he's carrying that damage wherever he goes, creating his own hauntings, his own presence. Because at least with ghosts, you can run, you can move, you can escape. But if the haunting is inside you, if you are the haunted house, there's nowhere to go. To our listeners, sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we can't see, the ones we can't prove, the ones that exist in that space between what we know and what we fear. Michael doesn't know if he's being haunted or if he's losing his mind. And honestly, I'm not sure which answer would be more comforting. This has been the Midnight Frequency. Stay safe in the storm, night wanderers. And if you're ever alone in an old house, maybe don't stay the night. Some places remember. Some places wait. And some places don't like being empty. Until next time, keep the lights on and listen carefully to the sounds in your walls. They might be listening back.